The most requested video topic that I always get is, how much does an investment banking analyst make at an investment bank? So in this video, I'm going to reveal everything from the base salary to the bonuses, which area of investment banking pays the most and which areas pay the least. Now, for those of you who have just joined us, a quick background on me. I started out in investment banking in 2013 as a mergers and acquisitions analyst, and my industry coverage was TMT. So I will be involved in all the M&A transactions relating to technology, media and telecom companies. Now, before I begin telling you exactly how much each bank pays their analysts and associates, I have to warn you that after working in investment banking and interviewing over a dozen candidates, the one mistake that I see a lot of candidates making is not knowing the difference between an investment bank as a building and investment banking as a profession. You see, at an investment bank, the building, there are many different divisions. There is a wealth management division, there's a sales and trading division, there's an investment banking division, there is a research division. There are a lot of different divisions. If you want to know more about the difference between investment banking and what happens at an investment bank and what investment bankers do, then check out my video on that. But in this video, I'm going to be focusing on purely investment banking. So those that work in the investment banking division of an investment bank, the salary of analysts that works within IBD. Investment bankers' salary tend to be in two parts. We have the base comp, which is the basic compensation. Now this is a fixed amount which you're guaranteed to get throughout the year. You then have a bonus. Now this is varied and it depends on a couple of different things, which I'm going to go over later on. But your bonus will either be paid out in a lump sum, either at the start of the year or the end of the year, or it will be paid out in two parts. Half at the beginning of the year, the other half halfway through the year. And the reason for this and what determines how much bonuses you get, I'll cover that later on. So let's take a look at JP Morgan. JP Morgan pays their first year analyst a base compensation of $50,000 and an average bonus of around $30,000. So the total compensation for a first year analyst working at JP Morgan is around $80,000. Now I'm going to put all the reports on our free members area. And if you want to know how to access our free members area to get interview questions, answers, resume templates, and everything else, I'll show you exactly how to do that at the end of the video. Now let's take a look at Goldman Sachs. The base comp for Goldman Sachs first year analyst is $50,000 and the average bonus is $30,000. So in total, $80,000 as the average compensation for a first year analyst working at Goldman Sachs. Now Morgan Stanley is slightly higher, but their base compensation is still $50,000. The average bonus which an analyst makes in their first year is around $35,000. So the total amount is around $85,000. Similarly with Bank of America Merrill Lynch, base comp we have $50,000 and the average bonus is $35,000. So Bank of America Merrill Lynch, the total compensation which a first year analyst can expect is around $85,000. Now let's take a look at Citibank. Their base compensation is still $50,000, but their bonus is, because it's going to be paid out in two periods, so the first stub is going to be $12,500. So the approximate first year salary for a first year analyst is around $62,500. Barclays Capital coming in slightly lower, but their base compensation is still $50,000 and the average first year stub is going to be $10,000. So $60,000 as the average first year salary. Now Deutsche Bank is slightly higher, but again base compensation is still $50,000. But the average first period stub, so the first part of their compensation which they're going to receive at the start of the year, is around $15,000. So approximately $65,000 is what a first year analyst can expect to make at Deutsche Bank. Credit Suisse, pretty similar, basic compensation is still $50,000. But the average first period stub is around $70,500. Total compensation is around $67,500. Finally, let's look at UBS. Again, base compensation, just like everyone else, $50,000. But the average first period stub is around $15,000, totaling $65,000. Now we can clearly see that base compensation does not change from bank to bank. And the average industry rate for the base compensation is around $50,000. And that's pretty much the same whether you're going to go into a bulge bracket bank like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, or middle market banks like Lazard, or even boutique banks. Now, boutique banks tend to pay lower, slightly lower in terms of base comp, but in terms of percentage of bonus, it tends to be higher. Now let's talk about what determines your salary as an investment banker. Now again, we have to break it down. Bonuses are pretty much affected by deal flow. So the more deal flow which goes through your investment bank and the more deal flow which comes through your particular department or your team coverage, then the more transactions you're working on, then the more bonuses you're expected to make. But the second thing which affects your salary is also the bank which you work at. If you're going to be working at a bulge bracket bank, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, then you can expect a higher base comp. But if you're going to be working at a boutique bank, then your base compensation is going to be lower, but the percentage of your bonus is going to be higher. And that's pretty much how I liked it. When I started out in investment banking, I worked at an investment banking boutique in central London. Our base compensation was slightly lower than everyone else, but our bonus percentage was much higher than all of my friends. Finally, your position will also impact your salary. Now, if we take a look at an investment banking hierarchy, you have the managing director, which leads the team, which generates deal flow. You then have the vice president below the MD. You then have the associate and analyst. So if you're going to be an analyst, you're at the bottom of the pecking order. So you're obviously going to receive the least amount of bonus. And the higher you climb, the more percentage of bonuses you get to keep. So where do you go to get the highest salary in investment banking? And it really is a trade-off. You can either work at a bulge bracket bank where you're going to get a high base compensation, but your percentage of bonuses is going to be slightly lower. Or you can work at a boutique bank where your base comp is going to be slightly lower, but your bonus percentage is going to be higher. But there's also the issue of deal size. Larger banks, bulge bracket banks, tend to attract larger companies. So bigger market cap, so the more fees you get to keep, but the bank will keep most of it. Whereas on the other hand, a boutique bank, even though the companies which you're going to be working with, they tend to be smaller in market cap, but you get to keep a larger percentage of the bonus. So it really depends on your perspective. Are you more driven by base comp, or are you willing to put in the effort and the work to actually get the bonuses? But after all is said and done, investment banking as an industry is still one of the highest paying industries in the world. Now, do you know any other industries that has a similar payout to investment banking? Comment below if you know another industry which has a similar payout to investment banking. So let's talk a bit about the payouts in terms of bonuses. Now, I mentioned earlier on that some investment banks will pay out bonuses in two parts. The first part at the start of the year and the second part at the half of the year. And there are some reasons for this. Number one is to prevent analysts and associates from leaving early. So if you still have half of your bonus to collect, then you're far more likely to stay at the investment bank to collect that bonus as opposed to just leaving. And as you might have heard, investment banks do have a problem at retaining junior employees. A lot of analysts tend to leave after just 2 years and they tend to exit in private equity or hedge fund or go somewhere else in finance. So as a way to incentivize analysts to stay on, investment banks will tend to pay half of their bonus at the start of the year and the other half halfway through the year. There's a common misconception that investment banking salaries and bonuses have gone down, and that's not the case. Salaries at an investment bank on average may have gone down, but within investment banking, that's not the case. It's actually gone up. We're now dealing with companies with a much higher market cap. So the fees that we charge are obviously going to be higher, and so our bonuses are also going to be higher. But because of rules and regulation which has come into effect in some parts of the world, it limits the amount of bonuses analysts can make and just the amount of bonuses investment banks can pay. And in some cases, it can only be up to the actual base compensation. So if your base compensation is $100,000, then your bonus can only be up to $100,000 or a multiple of the base compensation. So as a result, investment banks have figured out a way to increase the base compensation and reduce the amount of bonuses which they expect to get. But nonetheless, the total compensation is still the same, if not even more. So within investment banking, again, mergers and acquisitions, capital markets, ECM, DCM, compensation hasn't gone down. It may have gone down in other areas at an investment bank like sales and trading because of the efficiency, research, wealth management because of programmatic trading, but not in investment banking. Okay, if you've enjoyed this video, then hit subscribe and take a look at the description below. There's a link to join our free members area where you can see the reports on what investment banking analysts can expect to get in year 1, year 2, associates, vice presidents. And if you want to know more about the salaries, of course, take a look at the report and make sure you read through it. And if you want to get access to interview answers, questions, as well as resume templates, cover letter templates, a database of investment banks, private equity firms, hedge funds for you to contact, then register for our free members area. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. Or if you want me to reply quicker, then you can always add me on Instagram and I should respond to your questions sooner there.